Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. Do you find yourself resistant to change in certain aspects of your life? Fret not, my friend, for this is a common struggle we all share. However, do not despair, for there are means to shift from resistance to acceptance with swiftness and ease, thus avoiding unnecessary affliction. Today we'll primarily be covering Stoicism in relation to the challenges and resistance we face when dealing with change are common experiences. Change can often lead to suffering, but there are ways to move from resistance to acceptance and reduce unnecessary distress. This video focuses on 3 areas of philosophy that can help improve our relationship with change. Coping with change is a significant factor in our level of resilience, and the goal of this article is to enhance that resilience. Stoicism and change. Starting our conversation on change, it's crucial to understand that change is fundamental for survival. Devoid of change, we cannot progress, mature, encounter, establish connections, form alliances, conquer obstacles, undergo agony, feel satisfaction, love, frustration, dread, or drive. A universe that doesn't undergo change would cease to exist, as change is critical for shaping everything. Around 2 millennia ago, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius emphasized this idea, stating, "Every part of me then will be reduced by change into some part of the universe, and that again will change into another part of the universe, and so on forever." Logically, I think we all know this, but emotionally we often resist change, and many of us spend a lot of energy and focus trying to avoid its inevitability. Aurelius also wrote, "Is any man afraid of change? What can take place without change? What then is more pleasing or more suitable to the universal nature? And can you take a hot bath unless the wood for the fire undergoes a change? And can you be nourished unless the food undergoes a change? And can anything else that is useful be accomplished without change? Do you not see then that for yourself, also to change is just the same, and equally necessary for the universal nature?" As he points out, change is necessary for all things. However, while understanding this can go some way to helping us view change in a more productive way, it's not enough to remove a large portion of our resistance. I'll explain 3 main tools later on that can help us go further with reducing our resistance: change and suffering. With regards to our suffering, I believe that we struggle with 2 areas of change. The first is that we often suffer in anticipation of change. The fear of something happening to us or around us that will cause a shift in our life, our norm or our routine. This is often in the form of loss. Loss of a job or loss of a loved one, for example. Anticipation of change can lead to overthinking, doubting our ability to cope or deal with the challenges that come with change, catastrophizing, and generally making mountains out of molehills. In his book Homo Deus, Yuval Noah Harari writes, "People are usually afraid of change because they fear the unknown. But the single greatest constant of history is that everything changes." The second is suffering caused by a recent change that has already occurred. Often this is coming to terms with loss, or a feeling of being lost and the chaos that is caused as our lives move from a predictable state of equilibrium into a state of the unknown, which has not found its balance and may have difficult challenges. Resistance to change is understandable. Suffering is an understandable reaction. It's understandable because there is a comfort and safety in a predictable world, in a routine. Our brain wants to keep its habits and its ability to predict our environment. It takes a lot of time and energy to be aware of everything around us, so a predictable and routine life allows us to be much more efficient and helps to reduce stress. When this routine is threatened, it also threatens us with the unknown, the risk that our routine will fall apart, and the world that has become comfortably predictable be replaced with one full of new challenges, requiring us to get used to a new balance. The anticipation of this can cause some uncomfortable questions. What if we can't deal with the new situation? What if it causes me to suffer? What if I fail at a new job? What if new people don't like me? What if they break up with me? What will I do? What if I lose money? What if? What if? What if? Again, it's understandable that the common reaction to change is resistance. However, as long as we are resisting life, we cannot begin to accept it, and only with acceptance can we have a peaceful mind. Acceptance is key, and is one of the 3 areas we'll focus on later. If we learn to accept change as an intrinsic part of nature, and take responsibility to face it and the challenges it brings, we can dramatically improve our resilience to it. I'll talk in more detail about this later. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." This passage highlights 2 significant observations. Firstly, the statement "change is nature's delight" emphasizes that change is an integral part of existence, and it is impossible to experience life without it. The universe is built on change, and it is a fundamental aspect of our lives, regardless of our identity or location. Although change can be either beneficial or disadvantageous, it is a vital component of our lives, and most individuals would agree that a life with ups and downs is preferable to no life at all. The second noteworthy point made by Aurelius is that loss is nothing else but change. Loss in itself is neither positive nor negative. Our interpretation of it determines its value, and the pain we feel is a result of our inability to accept change and confront its obstacles. On a similar note, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It isn't the things themselves that disturb people, but the judgments that they form about them." And drawing again from the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, he wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Both of these ancient thinkers talk of the same thing. In order to reduce our suffering and develop our resilience to the world, we must first accept that our perceptions of things cause us to suffer, not the things themselves. And secondly, we must take responsibility to develop more constructive perceptions. The next section will focus on 3 practical areas of our mind that I believe can help us reduce suffering in all areas of our lives. But for this episode, I will focus on the subject of change. Epictetus and the dichotomy of control. In general, people find comfort in having control over their environment. It gives them a sense of understanding and influence, and helps them eliminate threats, challenges, and discomfort. However, most of the time, our sense of control is just an illusion that we create for ourselves. We do this to feel comfortable, but the more we cling to this illusion, the more we suffer when we lose control. In truth, we only have control over 2 things, our thoughts and our actions. Everything else can be lost, taken away, changed without our consent, or resistant to our attempts to control it. The great Stoic Epictetus once said, "Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our actions." He also said the following, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil, not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. Being able to make this distinction is core to building resilience. Change is no different. There will be changes in our life that we have no control over. There will be challenges that come our way that we cannot stop. In these conditions, we must accept what is outside our control and take responsibility for what we can. The story of Agrippinus the Stoic. A good example of this is the story told by Epictetus about the Stoic philosopher Marcus Agrippinus, who lived as a statesman during the reign of the tyrant Emperor Nero. Agrippinus was a member of the Stoic opposition, a group of Stoic philosophers who opposed the rule of emperors who showed poor leadership or tyrannical behavior. A man came to Agrippinus to tell him that he was on trial in the Senate. "Your case is being tried in the Senate," the man said. "Good luck betide. But it is the 5th hour now." He was in the habit of taking his exercise and then a cold bath at that hour. "Let us be off and take our exercise." After he had finished his exercise, someone came and told him, "You have been condemned." "To exile," says he, "or to death?" "To exile." "What about my property?" "It has not been confiscated." "Well then, let us go to Aristotle and take our lunch there." Epictetus writes, "This is what it means to have rehearsed the lessons one ought to rehearse, to have set desire and aversion free from every hindrance, and made them proof against chance. I must die. If forthwith I die, and if a little later, I will take lunch now, since the hour for lunch has come, and afterwards I will die at the appointed time." This is an example that Epictetus used to teach his students about accepting what we have no control over and taking responsibility for what we can. Agrippinus accepted his fate set by the Senate. The decision was made and beyond his control. And after finding out he still had his property, he accepted his exile and went to enjoy lunch away from his home, where he was no longer welcome. Expectation. It can be advantageous to acknowledge that the world does not cater to our expectations. Our thoughts and emotions do not control the universe, and we should not anticipate that they will. The universe operates independently of our desires, and events occur as they will, not as we wish them to. Frequently, we suffer because we anticipate the world to conform to our expectations. Our suffering increases the greater the disparity between our expectations and reality, as well as the intensity of our expectations. Therefore, it is crucial to scrutinize our expectations to determine if they are sensible or irrational. For instance, if we believe that everyone should behave according to our standards, we will suffer when individuals do not meet our expectations. Conversely, if we understand that people have diverse beliefs and behave in various ways, we will expect a range of behaviors, and our resistance will decrease, resulting in greater acceptance. Expectations should be examined in all aspects of our lives. When we anticipate too much, we may become entitled and immature, while when we expect too little, we may become indifferent and lack boundaries. Concerning change, it is essential to evaluate what we anticipate of it. Do we expect change to be an unavoidable part of life that we must handle responsibly? Or do we expect life to be equitable and devoid of challenges? Our expectations will influence the level of resistance, frustration, and suffering we experience as a result of change. Acceptance. Acceptance underlies both control and expectation. In accepting the things in life that we cannot control, we prevent ourselves from the suffering that comes with focusing our time and energy on things that we cannot change or influence. This allows us to better use our time on what we can influence and helps us deal with change and the challenges that come with it. Similarly, accepting that our unrealistic expectations can cause us suffering can lead us to think seriously about what we expect from other people and the world around us, and in doing so we create more realistic expectations. On the subject of change, acceptance that change is a natural part of our lives and that adversity can come with it removes some of the resistance that is caused when we spend our time in anticipation or avoidance. Final thoughts. By understanding and utilizing the concepts of control, expectation, and acceptance, we can alter our perception of the world and increase our resilience towards its difficulties and obstacles. However, this is not a simple solution and necessitates us to take responsibility for our personal growth and engage in introspection. We must first recognize how we view various aspects of our lives, including our thoughts, beliefs, and values, and then consider what actions we can take to progress. To end, I'll leave you with a final quote from Epictetus. Every part of me then will be reduced by change into some part of the universe, and that again will change into another part of the universe, and so on forever. As human beings, we are a part of a larger cycle, and change is an inherent part of this cycle. While change may disrupt our comfort and routine, we have a choice to resist it, or to accept it as a natural aspect of our lives and develop resilience in the face of adversity. It is up to us to decide which path we will take. Additionally, our channel offers a collection of insightful quotes from wise individuals, and while we do not insist, we would appreciate it if you choose to subscribe.